Welcome to the Elemental Lifestyle Podcast. And we are in our third year now, and I'm so excited about what is coming down the pike here with lots of exceptional people sharing their voice. Today, we have Jonathan Carroll with us from Title Transformation. Welcome to the podcast today, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Katrina. It's awesome to be here. I'm really stoked. I'm like in so much gratitude to be here.
It's so great. I'm just like really in awe of how many people are coming together. It's like all these, we just know when we're like connected in such a place of honor and service. And I'm excited to have this conversation today. And for all of us who are able to receive this deep message, I'm just in deep gratitude. And thank you, podcast listeners. All of you have impacted many different lives in your own way, and I'm excited here for this conversation. So, Jonathan, you are in Ecuador. You join us from Ecuador, and like, can you give us a little bit of a history and like, what is it that is so alive for you today?
Talk about a loaded question. My gosh, what is alive in me? You know, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm alive in me. I had this dream maybe 2 years ago to disappear in the wintertime and beat the Canadian winters and get to somewhere tropical. And it didn't happen last year for a variety of reasons. And then the pandemic hit. And coming up to this winter, I had a lot of people curious, like, are you really going to go through with that? And it was absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt something I wanted to do. So I arrive here in Ecuador in this very beautiful place right on the ocean, and immediately I start to feel space, like the space to kind of create and to be and to reflect and to get clear on who I am, who is it that I serve, and then to play around with this new environment. I'm out for walks on the beach and finding shells and stones and crystals and things that are genuinely lighting me up. I'm like a little kid out playing, and then turning that into food for thought that I'm putting out in the universe in the way of social media posts, and allowing people to get a break from all things politics and pandemic and so on, and not to shove it in anyone's face, but really to inspire that we're always in choice, and we have the ability to architect our universe in whatever way we choose. And that's exactly what I've been doing here in Ecuador. And so what's alive in me is my purpose. I feel really connected to my purpose, my clients, the work that I'm doing. I'm meeting more people like yourself who are, just resonating with similar energy. And there's so many synchronicities out there. And there's a lot of people doing really magical, special work. And I feel absolutely in deep gratitude that I'm one of them and that I'm meeting more of them. So the universe is alive in me. I'm alive in me. The vibrance of the world is kind of vibing through me, and I just love it.
That's amazing. And it is so true, right? Like, I think this place of when we realize how alive we can be inside, how that just shows up in our external world, and that focus. So thank you for that beautiful answer.
Yeah.
And like the what you share, so the space here, you have more space, you have more space to be you, to allow that. And in this process, you like basically brought to the world your new place of coaching, your transformation, like all the place that you're holding. So tell us a little bit about that. What's happening for you in that vein?
Hey, where do I start? So arriving here, I had some very simple intentions. It was, 2020 was a really difficult year for me, not only in my coaching practice, but financially, and some of it personally, and finding myself bumping into myself, getting in my own way. And 2021, well, the end of 2020 and then into 2021 has allowed me, when I talk about space, it's the quieting the distractions of the world. You know, I came here and I don't mind saying, and I'll get some flack for this, but I'm not really paying attention to too much world news right now. I am realizing that me getting clear on who I am and what my purpose is here is only going to benefit others and myself. And so, you know, to be plugged into that machine that has got a lot of people in fear-based mentality and questioning, you know, what's next for them, and wondering if they're ever going to, you know, surface or clear their minds or find peace in their heart again. It's sad to me. It's really sad to me. And I can't I can't give everybody that download, but what I've found for me is working is just putting it aside, getting really clear on what I'm here to do, and then so far I was really fearful that my messaging would look like I was trying to shove my great life in everyone's face. Oh, you're off in Ecuador and enjoying the sun and the sand and the beach, while we're all stuck in isolation here in Canada or wherever we are, beating the pandemic. And fortunately, I've had so many either personal messages or comments on my social media about how important they've found my messaging in inspiring them to think about how they architect their own lives, and that they really are being reminded that we are in choice. We get to design this stuff. Um, so that's the first part of it. I really wanted to kind of turn my business around. The space here has really been just time and fewer distractions. I sit here at this desk and I look out at the ocean, and it's really given me some time to get deep inside and maybe under the hood of my coaching practice. And what has happened is I've made some major shifts in that. You know, I'm even being selective in where I use the term coach. You know, coach feels limiting and finite, whereas I'm starting to feel like, you know, I'm a spiritual being. I'm someone who's deep into the woo-woo. It's why you and I have connected, and I'm starting to flirt with the idea that I'm a mystic. I'm a spiritual guide. I'm someone who has revealed a huge part of my own path, but I can also light the path for those who are looking to follow in this similar direction. And that feels really wonderful. And it feels like I'm finally stepping into my own skin. And in that place, I feel more fluid, and like I'm able to ebb and flow with the abundance, the energy, the sparkle, the brilliance of this wonderful world and life that we get to live.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And the sun just showed up on your shoulder. So yes, lots of let the sun shine. And
Yeah.
so as you're speaking, like getting rid of those labels, releasing the labels, you know, like trying on new coats, new spiritual coats, you know, that has been such a huge process. In my 18 months abroad, there is nothing like being 18 months abroad, like, or just out. Like I did the same. I didn't pay attention to politics, to anything. I was just doing my own thing, right? And but still connecting with people, sharing on social media. So I think what I'm feeling here is that place for us to all get curious about the labels that we put on ourselves. And we think we have to have that label, and then how it's really created our world in our reality. Like it's created how we approach things, what we look, how we see things. And so um what I'm hearing from you is this deep place of like, yeah, your curiosity is allowing you to then create new places of structures and to feel confident in that, right?
Yeah, there's the flirting with the curiosity that, you know, what if I was also a mystic? You know, like first I said that and I was like, huh, do you get to call yourself a mystic, or do other people call you a mystic? And I said, WTF, you know, like I'm just gonna float it out there because it feels good. The same way you sometimes put on a hat or a pair of sunglasses or a fancy jacket and you feel like, wow, that's me. And and I don't give two F's, like I really don't I care too much about what others think. It's like me experimenting, and then the experiment might, I don't know, for lack of a better word, fail. You might realize, no, that doesn't feel like me. I'll take that jacket off and I'll put it back on the hanger and I'll try another one. Like there's nothing breaks. I think we all have permission to flirt with different things, and a lot of people are in that fear of like, ooh, I don't, what would that mean for my profession, my family? What would they think of these things? And well, now you're living someone else's life. You're not living your own. So I love that you and I started with being invited to this space and being invited to share. And I believe strongly that in every invitation there's a gift, and so people should be opting for receiving more invitations and saying yes more often, and see what gift it arrives to you.
Wow. Okay, let's just let that all soak in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Being open to receiving invitations. Being open, like what if the invitation is just your intuition saying like pay attention to this,
sure.
you know?
A simple example I sometimes use with my clients is, how many times have you been asked by an acquaintance to grab a coffee? And maybe I'm thinking pre-pandemic, but hey, you want to grab a coffee or a drink sometime? And your knee-jerk reaction might be, oh God, no, I'd rather just stay home. Like I don't know that with that person, and a few years ago when I really started embracing that as a philosophy, it was, yeah, like my old self would have said like, oh, that's like a lot of work to try and figure out where we're going to meet up for a coffee and da 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 da, and create all these reasons why it's no. Well, all of a sudden you go and you have a coffee or you grab a drink with somebody or you catch up with an acquaintance that you might otherwise have said no in your sort of limited state, and now you're like having these really fun conversations about opportunities and collaborations, and someone says, hey, I thought of you, and they pull out a gift for you, like literally a gift, or I want you to meet somebody, and then there's another invitation, and so now you're exponentially receiving new gifts and opportunities, and life is starting to unfold for you as opposed to just sort of feel stagnant and still, and you're wondering like, when is anything going to change? Well, when are you going to change? Like when are you going to start seeing all the opportunities out there? And invitations are a great example of that to me.
Jonathan, I love that you brought this up because I can really deeply resonate with that. Like in my 30s, like most of my 30s, I always felt so like, oh my God, another like meeting somebody. I don't have enough time for that. I have kids or I'm working all the time. I mean, total burnout in all of those areas. And it's like, you want to meet for coffee? Are you kidding? Like, I don't have time for that, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, that was really my response. And as you're saying this, it's like the invitation, right? When we accept an invitation that could be just as small as a coffee, we have no idea where that invitation is going to lead, right? And when you said invitation, I also thought of like the initiation, like it's an initiation into receiving, right? And it's a place where we get curious. A lot of times the receiving is the feminine. So much of the work that I have shared is the feminine, is that receiving. And so when we're moving through these places of feeling safe and accepting these invitations, what is it for you, like that whisper, this invitation that you've been listening to for a while? What is that for you in your life?
It started, you and I had an exchange online about, when I was sharing with you what started me on this journey way back when was a pattern interrupt. I'd been bumping into a similar pattern over and over, and I was ready for some change. And in the spirit of being open to change, someone just said to me, well, one way to do that is to just be open to more invitations. There's a gift in there somewhere. And so this isn't my philosophy. I'm really just, kind of passing it along. But I started realizing that that, how many of us are in desire of more connection in our lives, or I wish I had more friends, or I wish I had better friends. And our same friends are always going to be there, but they're also going to present the same conversations and topics that you normally go through. And when you start being open to more invitations, you start having different conversations, and you start establishing more connections, and now you have more friends, and your network is growing, and your perspectives are getting, opportunities to shift. And there's very seldom something negative, I think, that comes from it. You could go for a coffee and say like, oh, like that was okay, but it wasn't really my favorite. But typically I find that you meet these people and you're like, I don't know why I was so limited in my thinking about why I shouldn't go. We create all these shouldn'ts, and really there's so many reasons to just say yes. Go and live. Where when someone's thinking of you to create the invitation, I mean, how much thought has already been created around the invitation? Like, I thought of you to reach out to you and to ask you to go for a coffee, and you're going to shut me down. I mean, well, what else are you shutting down in your life? What else are you closed off to? And so I think it's a beautiful metaphor for just opening up. Like, someone offers you an invitation, go take it.
Yes. Right? Yes. Absolutely. So it's so cute. It's so cool because right here in this moment, I could tell there was an invitation from the universe to really own the space of me owning being a shaman. And I was like, what? Okay, really? Like, I'm not, like, I don't do plant medicine. I haven't, like, that's like, and of course, I know there's aspects of all of us where we are part of a shaman. We all have that within us, because we're connected to Mother Earth. We are Mother Earth. So there's been an invitation from the universe to like really own that I'm a spirit shaman. And it's like, well, all right. So can I accept that? Where does that bring up resistance? Am I scared of judgment from somebody else? It's gonna, what is that? And where would that, what would my life, what if I say yes to that? What if I feel and try that code on and say, yeah, I'm a spirit shaman. Like, that is what I do. That is who I am in the now. And if you connect with that and resonate, then that's perfect, and I think so many coaches, so many in our industry, it's interesting. We want to be able to be mainstream and more like, open to not trigger people right off the bat. But why not? We're here to change and to make and to uplift people, right? And I think the biggest thing that you and I are talking about here is fear, right? That fear of the transformation. And I know that's what you walk your clients through. So, like, what are you noticing your clients moving through, and what are you moving through simultaneously, or just like a little bit ahead? What is that?
Wow. I'll speak about what I'm moving through first, because I think what happens is it spills over into our clients' lives. It's like as we transmute and transcend our shit, our clients benefit, right? That's just how it goes. And the more we accept and receive and push our boundaries and understand our fears and still continue in that direction, our clients get to do the same thing, because we'll take them there. That's just they're riding on our kind of like cosmic, stardust stream shooting through the universe. And we're riding on theirs. Let's not, it's not a power trip. I get to learn from my clients all the time. So what am I moving through? I was on a call with my close coach buddies this morning, the same people that went through certification with me, and we've maintained this regular call where we connect and talk about our coaching practices and where we're at and maybe our challenges and what our aha moments are and our big wins. And this morning, it was interesting how many of us were starting to almost simultaneously, I was certified, last June, and it was a, year and a half long process of courses, and then a 6-month intensive, and then accumulating 100 paid hours, and da 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 da. And I'd been coaching prior to that, but here I am, 3 years into coaching, or 3.5, whatever it is. And a year ago, got my cert, my little piece of paper that says I'm an official coach. And so many of us today on this call, we're basically saying how we're moving away from using the title of coach, or at the very least, we were taking a small departure from being just a coach. Like we're inviting more modalities, more different titles, different ways of coaching into our practices than the way we were taught. And for me, it's like I went off and I paid this money to learn a particular tool that I now have access to and can use with my clients. But I'm also Johnny Carroll, JC, Jonathan, and I get to like do it my way. Like I got the piece of paper and I can tear it up and decide to do it my way now. And I can lean on those skills when I need them in the moment, but I can also lean on my experience of life to bring different aspects of color to how I coach. And that has been magical. So I'm moving through this kind of metamorphosis of like, don't put me in a box, And how many of us wake up in the morning and say, fuck it, don't put me in a box. I want to be different. I want to break out. I want to be me. And if that isn't transformation, what is? So my clients are getting the opportunity to be questioned by me as to, what are their deepest desires, and what is it that's holding them back from stepping forward in that direction. And if all it is permission, then they have full permission when they're in the space that I create. But sometimes it's about understanding the limiting beliefs and some of the maybe past traumas, or things that have painted their perspective, cultural programming. There's all kinds of numbers of reasons why people feel like they have to stay contained in these places, and then they're all in desperate need of transformation or some kind of change. We all want to grow. And so I'm moving through that and giving myself full permission. And we've already brought up a little bit around plant medicine and so on. So I've been experimenting with that and finding exponential growth in that space, as it just like downloads from the universe about what's allowed. Well, anything is allowed. You are a god. You were made with divine stardust. You're a spark of brilliant energy that can do anything you like. What more do I need to say? Go out and paint your life. But many of us are told we need to do this thing, or live a certain way, or get that job, or make that money, or go to school, get a degree, all these things that feel like I should do these things. But at the end of the day, do you really want to? Like, what's going to really light you up? So I'm now moving into this space of, it's not just pure coaching, if that's a term, like just using the tools of coaching. It's more than that. I want to give them a little bit of color, and here's where I've been, and maybe it's a little bit of consulting, or a little bit of tough love sometimes, or a little bit of deep love, being held in that space of just like, wow, this isn't easy for you, and that's just absolutely okay, my human brother and sister. So hope that answers the question. It's really just about giving people permission to play in the sandbox a little bit.
I love it. I felt that, the place of compassion. Life gets messy. And when we're stuck in these patterns, that's when the mess really starts to show up. And that's when, like, we want to hide from it, right? We don't want to show that mess. And you're saying in this place, like the diversity and like not having to do it normally. Like I'm sure I have this tool now. I have this set of skills, but it just adds to the alchemy of who I am and how I serve my clients, right? Like you have tools to navigate and help people through that place, and most of all to offer the compassion and the affirmation that they can do what they need to do in this life. There's so much is needed in that space. What is it for you that like your work, like that place of compassion, when that really comes out and shows up, what has happened in that place for you when you see that place of the ache and you hold that compassion and love? What is the transformation that happens for people because of because of the compassion that's there?
I think it can be jarring, I think, for some to be received in that way, or to even have the space held for them. A lot of us are running from being seen and running from our mess and on to the next thing. Why are we so busy? Why are we so programmed? Why are we so technologically laid down and held back? It's because there's a real magic in the present moment, and the present moment isn't always easy. Sometimes there's deep emotion and fear and sadness and pain, and it's a place where I truly think if we can be with that, then there's an opportunity to understand it, to receive information, data from the emotions that we're experiencing. And what has happened is people, I think that the first misnomer is that that's going to be hard for a long time. And what really truly happens in my experience is that when we just hold space and just get real present to the feelings that exist in somebody around a particular thing that might feel negative or sad or down for them, is that they're not with it for very long before all of a sudden it shoots them out into a new space and a new understanding of it. And so the blockage is not going to that place. The blockage is really just it's a little thin veil that they won't go through because there's fear of what's on the other side or in the veil. And when you safely bring somebody into it, you can hold their hand and you can basically walk them into it in a way where you're supporting them. My experience is people don't need to be in it very long before they're all of a sudden like, oh my God, it makes sense now. There's an aha moment that comes from it. And they realize this thing they were pushing away for so long, maybe a lifetime, really wasn't as hard as they made it out to be. And then there's this new information and maybe even a positive outcome that comes from kind of pushing through it. And it's why coaches get paid, because we can walk them into that space in a safe way and help them through to the other side. And then they realize, holy, you got to talk to so and so, they're the best. And really all we did was we helped them be with the thing that they were so afraid to be with.
Coaches, mentors, these, oh my, they are the reason why I'm here today. Absolutely, because of that compassion. And I can feel everything that you're saying, and we can only offer as much compassion for someone else's journey as the places that we've gone ourselves. Like we have to go into those places, and when we do, then we allow others to go, oh, it's okay to do that, it's okay to go there, right? It's okay to feel this grief. Like I just went through it felt big, like a 2-day grieving, like just real, like just releasing all these old stories, these whatever, just it was just, and I didn't even have to know what it was. I knew I was held in the space of love by my other peeps, you know, like in a coaching program that I'm in, we're in the same orbit of receiving support for our business. And I really like, I got to touch some places that I've been scared to touch. And it just pops. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like the most cathartic feeling, right? Like when you can hold that place for someone else and just let them be seen and held, and then provide, like, it's okay. Be compassionate to yourself, you know, hold that place of love. And Jonathan, I think it's so important, you as a man offering a space for other people to have that place of compassion. It is so important. And thank you. Thank you for your service here. And thank you for like opening up and receiving these invitations to the feminine, to your masculine. Like as I'm sensing and picking up on this, and I think our listeners are picking up on, like, your masculine is showing up in such a powerful way now to inspire others to take action in their life, to say, I don't want this. I want something different, right? So they're accepting these places of invitation. And there's something here. When you, Jonathan, when you're sharing your messages with the world, when you're sharing your truth, when you're sharing that, like, yes, like, what is that like for you now today? Like, did you ever think that you'd be here doing this, what you're doing?
Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful question. I don't know that I can answer that accurately. I don't know if I ever thought I'd be here. You know, I think when I was in my mid to late 20s, I was working in the field of outdoor experiential education and taking youth and adults on these beautiful long wilderness canoe, kayaking, hiking trips, etc., and having them move through a physical and a spiritual and a, you know, cosmic experience that allowed them to transform. But I was really, you know, I was a guide for safety and direction and skill set building, but I wasn't directly responsible for this journey that they were on. That, you know, the environment did a lot of that for me. And then I found myself years later working a desk job, rotting under fluorescent lights, and I loved the company. I mean, they did amazing things, and there was some real beauty in what we were up to. I was selling polar travel, and that was super fun. But my role was business development, and I worked in a cubicle, and it just wasn't, you know, the fabric of my being wasn't really being let out to play in the playground of the universe the way I wanted it to be. So so that's around the same time I started working with a coach, and I realized, oh my God, like, this is not only so powerful. I've moved through so much stuff in such a short period of time just by working with a coach. God bless you, Timo. And I realized I want to do that. And I told him, I said, hey, I want to do this. And he didn't bat an eyelid. He said, you'd be great at this. You know, you could fill stages, you know, like rooms full of people would listen to you. And I'm like, my ego was getting nicely stroked at that moment. But did I ever think I'd be doing this? Not exactly. And, you know, I think like a lot of youth or 20 somethings or even 30 somethings, we always think we're like, I'm going to make it big. Well, what does big mean? You know, in that moment when you don't really know yourself truly, it might mean, you know, you're going to have some very successful desk job or corporate gig or whatever, and I'm going to make oodles of money and live in a mansion and da 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 da. Did I ever think that the abundance of the universe actually meant I'd be staying in a bamboo hut on the beach in Ecuador and just absolutely loving life more than anything itself? Probably not. But am I surprised? Also, no. You know, I've been a student of nature and the universe for long enough to realize that, of course, you know, all the writing was always there. I just wasn't reading it in the moment because I thought success meant getting away from that to like one day I'll do a different job where I actually make a lot more money. And now I'm very comfortable living in a bamboo hut on the ocean, and my practice is filling up beautifully, and I'm having more fun than I've ever had. So I think that answers the question, but like life throws us curveballs, and are you willing to play? That's really what I think it comes down to.
Yes. Are you willing to play in the sandbox? Are you willing to get curious? As you say, play and curiosity are just such a strong foundation here. And as you were saying, I just have to go back to this place. You said, in your 20s, you were responsible for their safety and, letting the environment do its thing. And as you were saying that, I'm like, but that's what you're doing today, is you're providing that safe container for people, and you're letting the universe do its thing.
Yeah, I thank you. I thank you for kind of mirroring that back at me, because it's quite poetic in the sense that, I used to use canoes and tents and ropes and paddles and all kinds of things related to wilderness tripping. And here I am now. I'm just have different tools, but it's still the environment. It's still the world. It's still the universe. It's maybe an even larger environment, and I'm more comfortable in multiple environments because of that. It's I love it. That's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I really felt that. It's a beautiful offering there. And so, like, is there anything that you would like to share as far as plant medicine and like some of the shifts that have happened for you? Or would you like to extend an invitation to our listeners to join you in the places of what you offer for support?
In the spirit of yes, and I'm going to offer both.
Perfect.
First off, I'm going to share a little bit about my recent foray into plant medicines, and I was at a truly profound, beautiful 7-day plant medicine retreat here in Ecuador, and it was the single greatest experience of my life in my 44 years here on this planet. And I'm not, that's not me blowing smoke up anything. I literally feel so much gratitude for the experience I just had, and it was 2 weeks ago. And during the retreat, there were 2 opportunities to enjoy some ayahuasca medicine, and another opportunity to have a San Pedro ceremony in a Temescal traditional sweat lodge. So, but the first night on ayahuasca was magnificent. Well, all of it was magnificent, but I'll talk about night number 1. And I had this really really colorful, profound, cosmic, sacred geometry, colorful mindscape, just whoosh, and the music and the drumming that's being played at the same time. I just felt like I was all of a sudden this, just flirtatious spark of energy that had all of the knowledge of the universe in a single moment. And the playfulness and the expansiveness of my thoughts and the opportunities that it allowed were magnificent. And I realized I had this download in that moment. And the download was essentially what I said earlier: we're all gods. And it's not about, it's not a power trip. It's not about not being humble. It's that we are all a piece of the divine, and we all get to win. And life is a game, and we get to show up, play the game. We're all winning already simply by being players in the game. And it made me realize how sometimes serious we take life. And there are things that require our logic and our focus and our um, our understanding of whatever it is that we're exploring to be serious about it. But there's a lot of space for us to just take a deep breath in and just surf the waves. Like, let's play, let's get curious, let's experiment, let's try things on. It's like going back to our childhood a little bit, of like where we weren't afraid of things. We would just try stuff on and see what we thought of it, and then say silly things and maybe get told that's not the right way. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to judge that. I'm just going to do something else instead, And so I had, before that retreat, known in my soul, and I had even put up some social media posts saying, like, there's big news coming soon, and I knew that I'd be launching a group program. During the retreat, post retreat, it turned into something entirely different. It's not a group program per se. I mean, it's going to be a group of people who engage in a program that I'm putting together. I've curated this really fun experience, but I'm inviting people to a game. And so, yeah, well, wherever we're recording this, but on February 11th, it's getting launched to the public. And so it's an invitation to play life's greatest game. And it's reserved for 12 players, and it's going to be over 12 weeks. We're going to move through 12 levels, and the levels each have their own theme. And it's going to be a multimedia extravaganza, as sort of a I want to push on people's senses. I want to awaken them to possibility. I want to put them in a place where they're feeling the invitation of the energy of this universe tugging at them to play back, to dance, to get curious with themselves, and to start challenging convention and releasing crap that no longer serves them, to consider adopting a new way of thinking, and to challenge the cultural programming they've been, drinking by the bucket, and to really allow them to feel in control, of themselves and their thoughts. We can't control anything outside of ourselves, but I think people don't give themselves enough credit for how much control they have of themselves. One of my favorite sayings is, transform your thoughts, transform your life. Our thoughts are the first filter, and then we allow, or we don't allow, certain thoughts to enter our mind, and we have the power to filter them. Those thoughts turn into emotions, and the emotions then create the reality of our life. So if you're having a bad day, I hate to tell you, but you probably created a bad day. And it's not to say that you have full control over sad, like deeply sorrowful news, or really difficult setbacks, but you can't control those. What you can control is the filter with which you frame them in your mind. And so that's a tough one. That's advanced level, subject matter for some people. And I'm in a place now where I've been experimenting with that for long enough, and I know that concept through and through, but it's taken me years to really get to a place where I actually can do anything with it. And I think that, it rubs people the wrong way sometimes when you tell them that they're responsible for their own life and that they're creating their reality. And it just is. I don't know what else to say about that, but teaching people that they do have more control than they realize. I mean, if that isn't a gift, I invite them to think about that. So anyways, that's the game. And I'm I'm super excited about it. This is, in so many ways, this is my life's work. This is everything from my days as a guide, doing canoe trips and leadership programming in the wilderness, to working in corporate, to the trainings I've done, the coaching I've given, the certifications I've got, and now my joie de vivre and my just playfulness with the universe to receive abundance. And I just want to, my cup's full. I literally feel like my cup's full, and it's time to start letting it spill over. And what better way than to invite people to a game?
Yes, 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 yes. Like, and as you shared all this, so like play, there, when I really opened up to opening into this world of changing my thoughts and reality, oh, there's a knock at the door. Yeah, that's
Universe.
my kids. Okay. Okay, well, yes, that was all timely perfect, because my children were knocking at the door. It's time to play. Like, come along. So, right. So that's, they say like the Institute of Play. That was like really the invitation to play changed my life. Like, I was stuck in trauma. I was like navigating my my father had died, and it was all this stuff, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was really intense, right? So I all like some of my childhood traumas, but what literally saved me was play. Like, I started to like get really freaking curious about play and what it meant. I sat in a river, like I just in a really like shallow river for like a whole day with my kids, just playing, looking at the dragonflies, like noticing how the sun sparkled. Like, and I was like, literally, I didn't even know why I went on that camping trip. I just knew I had to go. I knew I had to accept that invitation, and I did. And that day transformed my life. I found that 3-year-old kid inside of me that knows how to play. And I think ultimately, Jonathan, you're asking people to accept that invitation to play and to get curious, right? Because I think that is that little thing, that's that little place that we can go, oh, we accept that, and wow, like what can show up, right? It's
What can show up? Absolutely. My gosh. Yeah, and thank you for sharing the story about the river. I had a client today actually who was talking about just how much transformation they're experiencing, and one of the comments made was, I'm starting to notice things. I said, well, say more about that. What kind of things? And it was simple, like the sun shining, the glitter off the snow, and and to me, that's really just a version of gratitude. It's like all of a sudden you're awake to the present moment, and in the present moment is there are myriad number of gifts, right? There's just this, like, that is life. That's the gift we get every single day we wake up. And playfulness is just getting a little bit more, just adding a little bit of pizzazz and vibration to that. Like, I want to flirt back. I want to let the universe know that I'm here and I want more. That's to me what play is. It's not I'm a passive receiver of whatever gets delivered to me today through the news or whatever. It's about me getting up and being an active participant in my own life. And yeah, I'm getting super excited about that. But yeah, and then sitting in a river and feeling that the tangible kind of the just the beauty of life, this flow that we can receive when we're ready to accept. And yeah, that's essentially what it's designed to do. And yes, there's real coaching tools, and there's real exercises, and there's a little bit of pre-work, and there's some homework, and inspirational videos, and maybe some readings or poetry or music or whatever. But I want to wake people up, like, let's change the script that you have in your mind right now about where your life is going, and get really intentional about designing life on your own terms.
yes, 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 yes. And it, and for everyone who's listening, it is so real. Like, Jonathan is real. He is the real deal. I have also experience these places of deep opening to play, and it really does change your life. And it is the way to really like own who we are. I think we are inherently children. We're meant to play. We're supposed to play. We are creatures of like play. Like that is who we are. So let's get curious. Like let's, just be in this place of play. And Jonathan, I'm so glad that you are offering this. And for all you who are listening, this is an invitation. So, Jonathan, what's the best way to reach out to you, to
Yeah,
connect
so
with you?
thank you. Titletransformation.com is the website, and you can just go to the coaching programs tab, and there'll probably be a nice little link there to the Life's Greatest Game. And think long and hard about accepting that invitation. And I'm looking for people that are growth minded and can commit 100% attendance. The richness of this game depends on the players and the people who are willing to play back. And I'm looking for people who want to play full out. So give some thought to that. And if this feels like the right invitation for you in this moment, then I'll see you at the game board and in the winner circle. And Title Transformation on social media, or Jonathan Carroll on Facebook. So hope to meet some new people.
It's fantastic. It really is. It's amazing, Jonathan. I just want to offer this a strong reflection of, I can feel so deeply what you're doing and where you've been saying yes. And that is like exponentially rippled out to so many people. And what I want to ask, what is your most, what is the one thing that you are most proud of in this journey of your transformation? Like, what is the one thing that you're just like, oh my God, like, wow.
It's there's a lot there. There's
I
some recent
know.
stuff too that's not ready to be aired yet, but truly transmuting some past traumas into the gifts that they were meant to be all along, realizing that your pain is your power. I'm really proud of me for just doing the work, and that's not supposed to come off as egotistical in any way. People are all invited to do the work. It's not easy, and there are spirit guides and healers and light workers and energy people out there who can help you make sense of this life that we've already described today as messy. Like when you get in the sandbox, you're going to get messed up, and sometimes it's about putting all that stuff back together. And as little kids, we needed help with that. But as little kids, we also learned. There's a lot of learning that comes from getting messy. And I'm proud that I engaged. I am proud that I saw the invitation and decided to accept it, and then continued accepting more and more and more invitations until the place where here I am feeling like my cup's full, and I want to spill it over to those who are willing to accept a new invitation. And I'm proud of those people who are also doing the work, and the other people that I get to call my peers, other coaches and colleagues that are doing really powerful work that's complementary to the work I'm doing, and inspire me on a daily basis. And you're one of those people too. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I received that. It's an honor. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I really love what you've shared here with everyone. And like, why not say yes to these beautiful places? And I know so many of us do, though. We get worried about like what you're saying right there is so important, because it takes work. You have to be committed to it. Transformation is not just going to happen for you. Like if you got to do the work. You have to. It's a daily commitment to it. So you're doing the work. It's such an honor to see you in this place of reflection. And I know that the people that are going to be working with you are going to show up and do the work. I know that. I can feel that, because they are ready to take these steps that you have taken and are taking. And we're all walking this path, and we're all here to do this together. So thank you, Jonathan, for being such a strong presence. So appreciate you. Namaste. So it is all the beautiful things that there are in this life. I appreciate the play that we did today here. Thank you.
Wow, me too. Yeah, that was really fun. Thank you. And thank you for the invitation to speak, and for the really wonderful questions and the space that you created for us to engage in this wonderful dialogue.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for all the listeners, share, subscribe, share this with people that you were like, oh my gosh, this was resonated. The more we get the word out, the stronger this podcast is, and the more we can ripple out this beautiful message. Of course, the elementallifestyle.net, you can always reach me personally if you were encouraged to look up. There's resources there. Relationships, I'm a relationship coach. So thank you so much for being a part of this place of deep love. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let me put